in my experience in 5 years, especially going through the pandemic, where like, you know, dating apps completely exploded. It was like a man will find a woman and be like, okay, I want to just like focus. Some men, I'm not talking about F-boys, right? But, and women are more of like laissez-faire, like let's just get to know people and not have expectations and stuff. But,
I'm still not like that.
yeah.
Wait,
That's a hot take.
You're saying women are more so...
Yeah, because we don't want to get hurt emotionally. So we try and like stay the distance and kind of have like options. That's what I've always been taught by my older mentor, lady friends.
Is she a woman or...
Who?
Your mentor. Is she a woman or a man?
Multiple different women.
You've had multiple female mentors who have instructed you and advised you to entertain multiple options. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah. When you're on the dating scene, until you actually get serious and you know if everything aligns, just casually getting to know.
So 2 months ago, were you doing that prior to meeting this current guy that you're now only...
I was on
you're
all
only
the
seeing
dating
him.
apps.
Well, you're
Yeah.
on all the dating apps. So how many options 3 months ago were you entertaining?
I only had a couple that I was, considering, and
What do you mean? When you say considering, what do you mean?
a couple of good men that
Were you
I
dating
would
them
have
all at the same time?
seen, getting to know them. Yeah.
But so, okay, you would be like you'd be this guy on the third date, this guy on the fourth date, this guy on the seventh date, like...
Until you become exclusive, yeah, that's like very common.
Sure. And so how many people were you just dating at the same time?
Well, there's a difference between getting out there, putting yourself out there, and just meeting people.
Yeah.
And then there's a difference between consistently dating someone to get to know them. So maybe 2 or 3 guys.
That you were consistently seeing?
For a few weeks, yeah.
And do they all know about each other? And like you were doing that? Or?
You have open conversation and you tell them,
Yeah.
like, I just put myself out there, I'm meeting people, like you're very upfront.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I feel like it's like
those are conversations.
I'm dating, like I'm going
Yeah.
on dates with people,
It's
or
a
like
verb.
him and I are dating.
Yeah.
That's different.
It's
Right.
a verb.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you were going on dates with
Right.
people.
And the
Yeah.
men were cool with it. Like they were just like, that's good, you do you, and let me know.
Yeah.
And I feel like early on you don't need to, like when you first meet someone, you don't need to.
Until you have a
Well, you have to get to
conversation.
know
all
them.
of that,
Yeah. You have
Yeah.
to get to know them. I don't
okay,
think I'm
well,
very good
I'll
at
come
that.
in on this in just a second.
Yeah.
But so, what's the most amount of guys that you were seeing at one time?
I don't know, because the pandemic was a cluster. So
If you like,
so why don't you clarify the question? Like, how many men was I meeting?
Let's
Just like back to
say-
back trying to get to know, or consistently dating? Because that's a very different posture to have.
so how about this? At the peak of the cluster fuck, how many total men did you go on a first date with in the period of a
Wow, you were
like
doing
a
good.
1 month?
And I mean, in the beginning, like
month
there's
span.
context. There's context there, right?
Yeah.
Like
What's the context?
I got married at 17. I was married for 14
Whoa.
years. I have 5 kids. So for me,
5 kids.
For me to get out on the dating scene, it's a very intentional thing.
Dang,
That was
mama.
Nick. That was Nick. Anyways, go ahead.
So for me to get out on the dating scene, it's like I'm very intentional. I'm trying to seek a partner to continue like raising kids with and things like that, right?
Wait, I'm a little confused though. You said you were intentional, but you also said earlier that you don't want the title because you don't want.
No.
Put words in your mouth. I'm trying to remember
Yeah.
precisely what you said.
Yeah.
You said something along the lines of you want to.
I'll tell you
Hold
exactly
back
what
a
I
little bit.
said if you'd like to
Yeah,
know what I
repeat it,
said.
sure.
Okay. So what I said was the gentleman and I that are in a relationship don't necessarily need the titles. We are exclusive. We'd had those conversations. We are monogamous.
There's something you said before that though, which was along the lines of
Like women.
women should be seeing multiple men.
That women are kind of like.
I didn't
trying
say
to
they
distance
should be. I
themselves.
said
Okay.
that's what typically is
Well,
happening.
I don't remember verbatim what you said
Right.
precisely, but there was something else that you said that kind of contradicts your statement of you wanting to date intentionally.
That
A
you kind
little
of
bit.
wanted to like explore your options basically, because I would say
think-
those two
I
are.
think
There's
kind of
also
what
an
Brian's-
intention there with exploring
Well,
options. You're getting to
so
know
I think,
people.
I think what Brian's getting at is you you express this interest in being intentional with getting to know this guy because, hey, I got 5 kids. I don't want to be screwing around when I have like children at home.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that you're the guy that can like help me raise these kids. So there's that. And you seem very disciplined and decisive about those things. But then there's a very laissez-faire kind of attitude when
I
it
think
came
that's what you
to
said,
yeah.
your like, oh, I don't really want to like early on, I don't really want to define it. We don't really
That's not
tie
what I said,
ourselves down
though.
with
I
these
said we didn't
definitions.
have to use titles because we've already had conversations around being
Yeah.
monogamous and
Well,
exclusive.
so
But there was something about
like
the
a
laissez-faire,
a
laissez-faire.
generally accepted definition of like, hey, he's my boyfriend, hey, he's my girlfriend. Just in the context of this conversation is, hey, we're exclusive.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
like, in the I guess area of this definition, we could say you're probably boyfriend and girlfriend.
Right.
I'm not saying like you guys call each other that. I'm just saying
Right.
in the context
To
of this
refer
conversation.
to.
Well,
Yeah.
as soon as you decide to be like monogamous and exclusive, I would say that title or not, that's essentially what you're getting
Yeah,
at.
yeah.
I don't know. All I know is when I one time was talking to this guy and he was like, if you're even just talking to me, even before the first date, I only want you talking to me, not to any other guy. And that's kind of been my experience with men, that they want you to focus on one person at a time. So as much as women want to do that, and I totally understand, you're like, just getting out there, you want to explore your options. In my experience, the men are like, I don't want you if you're talking to a bunch of other guys.
We'll get
So,
into that.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later.
Goes
So,
both ways, yeah.
just going back to my question, though, at the apex of the cluster, whatever.
In
so,
the
like,
pandemic.
how many first dates in like with different men in the period of 1 month time?
I would probably say like 30. Sometimes I'd go on
Okay.
coffee dates, sometimes dinner dates, sometimes lunch dates. Just depends.
So like almost one date per day. If it was there more?
No,
Did
probably
you ever
not.
go on 2 dates in one day?
Well, yeah, that's what I said. Sometimes it's a coffee
Oh.
date, sometimes it's a dinner date, and it also depends on
Okay.
like whether or not I have my kids, right? Like that's what I'm saying. It's a different posture whenever you're a
Right.
single parent because you only have this amount of time without kids, or you have to pay
Yeah.
for childcare, so you go
Okay.
and you get to know people.
I
Wait,
feel like
so-
that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Like you just like trying to get it
Yeah.
figured out.
Okay. So, did you ever go on 3 dates in one day?
No.
So the max was like 2 dates one
Yeah.
day. So you would do like, did you ever cut a date short because you had another date coming up?
No.
Okay.
I'm a lot more disciplined than that with my time.
Okay. But you did go essentially in a 1 month period, you went on 30 dates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's not even talk about my 5-year singlehood life.
Was it more?
It's so sad.
More or
Just like
less?
there were a lot of first dates. Like I'm very open about this conversation because like you can get to know someone and chat with them on the online dating world and they're charismatic, they're witty, all these different things, and then you meet with them in person and the vibe is off and they're super like shut down. They're actually like introverts. They can't even hold a conversation, or their pictures are like 10 years old and they're 30 pounds heavier and they look like they've been through the ringer, and I'm just like, I've been authentic. So that's where it that cycle comes in where you're just like meeting people and weeding them out. You're like, yeah, that's a no.
You were on the dating apps, you said, correct?
Yes.
And you said you were authentic on the dating apps?
Yes.
Okay. Would you, I know you're currently in a thing, but do you still have them on your phone?
No.
Oh, you deleted them? Okay. I was going to say, I know we mentioned it before the show. I was going to say, we could look at your dating apps
yeah.
and see if that
No,
checks
thank you.
out. Well, I'm
But,
looking.
yeah.
So, how did you find the time in a 1 month period to go on 30 dates? You have 5 kids. I imagine that would keep you fairly preoccupied.
Well, it just depends on how you do your, schedule. But yeah, I have like, child care for my kids, or they're gone with their dad, or in the summertime, they were, gone for a week at a time, and I was home, I had them for a week at a time. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a lot of control over my work hours and work schedule.
Right.
So everybody goes to lunch during a work day.
Yeah.
Sometimes I
Okay.
go on a
All
date
right. So you'd
for
go
my
and
lunch.
You do a 30-minute date or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of coffee dates for sure.
Can I ask a question? Did the men usually pay for the dates?
No, I've gone Dutch a lot. I've bought my own food. You know, some men will make it a point to be like, no, you know, I insist. And my cultural background is a lot more like conservative Eastern European. Men will actually like even take offense, you know, if you try and pay for it and stuff. Right. So I was just like very aware, but I was dating a lot in the Pacific Northwest at the time, and there's a lot of like super liberal, like men won't. They're afraid to even open doors for women because they feel like someone's gonna like, you know, I can open my own door. You know, so.
I'm an independent woman.
Yeah.
Ryan loves roast beef. Poon donated $200. My sprinkler goes like this.
Okay. I mean, it's true.
Comes back
First
like
part,
this.
It is unfortunate, you know, the BLM, my nonprofit, Big Labia Matter. It's I'm doing it for the movement, doing it for the culture. Anyways, okay, so I'm trying to recall.
I was going to ask, did your husband pay for the first date?
My
Or
ex.
not your sorry, not your husband.
boyfriend?
Sorry. The guy you're dating right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he did.
Wait,
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Dating like around 30 guys in a month. How did you like get rid of them if you just weren't feeling the date?
Oh, true.
Did you
You
ghost
seem
them?
straightforward, though.
No, I don't ghost. I typically don't. I give good feedback.
You give feedback?
Especially if they have a
There's
very
how you can
inauthentic dating app profile,
Yeah.
I will let them know.
Oh yeah, I think that's fair. Like if someone's I could be called on that too.
So you would frequently encounter these men who are inauthentic,
In the beginning.
and you would tell them to, you know, hey, this is inauthentic of you.
Yeah.
Well, what are your views on women wearing makeup?
I think if it's that's a really huge thing actually. Like it's scary to see some women that are like, you know, they look like they're in their 60s or 70s, and then they put makeup on and the shape and whatnot, and then they look like they're in their 30s. I feel like if I were a man, I would feel super betrayed. And I think makeup is, you know, great for like enhancing natural beauty, but you shouldn't look like a completely different person when you take it off.
Sure.
So that's my opinion.
Although
on
I
it.
would argue, I mean, you say enhancing natural beauty, that's sort of like the marketing spin of what I could just describe that as being inauthentic. That's not what you actually look like. And I would argue if makeup didn't make you look better than you actually look without makeup, you wouldn't wear it.
I mean, I will call myself on it. I wear makeup. I use filters on my photos. It's completely inauthentic, and I know that. But I feel like it's hard to live in a society that puts so much pressure on you to like look a certain way. And if I felt like I could show up as my natural self, like no makeup, whatever, and be appreciated even at my age as I'm getting older, I would do it in a heartbeat and save myself the money and the trouble. I just feel like, unfortunately, you have a lot of people who, if you show up as you are, that's not going to be good enough. And you shouldn't care what other people think, but when you're dating, you certainly care. Of course you care. You want to be confident. You want to feel good. So yeah, it's a lie. It's a lie, but it's sometimes you feel like you don't have a choice.